talk about joy. So let's all write down the main way I am sabotaging my joy. See what you get. There could be many ways, but I want to know the main way.
The main way I sabotage my joy is I worry about finances in the future.
Worrying about finances, yeah. Yeah, so we all want joy, but we are sabotaging it. Yeah, sabotaging it. Okay, so we must let go of everything in opposition to joy and peace. Yeah. We say to the Holy Spirit, I'm willing to let go of anything sabotaging my joy or in opposition to my joy. I'm willing to let go of anything sabotaging my joy or in opposition to my joy. And mostly it's bad habits, and most of you said negative thinking. So we can say this affirmation, anything unlike joy of God can now lovingly be released in me. Anything that is unlike joy of God can lovingly be released. You don't even have to know what it is, because there's probably a lot that we do to sabotage joy. But we can lovingly release it. We should not use our body as a scapegoat to sabotage our joy. So when we have symptoms in our body, like I was saying I had during this pandemic, quite a few symptoms in my body, I'm using my body as a scapegoat. I'm projecting my mind, the negativity of my mind onto my body. So that's using the body as a scapegoat by making up symptoms. And the good thing about symptoms in your body is they are telling you, wake up, something is wrong in your mind. So when you have a symptom, the minute you get a problem in your body, you should say, oh, my body is trying to teach me something about my mind that's off, okay? And lately I've learned that if I have a symptom or a condition in my body, it's all about my past, right? It's something in the past I'm hanging on to. So what I realized is I need to look at what is it in my past that I'm hanging on to that's stuck in my body, keeping me from joy. Okay, so then I find out there's something in my past, and then I have to remember the past is not here. The past is gone. The past is not here. There's a lesson in the Course in Miracles that says, the past is not here, it can touch me not. Is that how it goes, Marcus?
Yeah, past is gone.
The past is gone.
289.
Lesson 289. The past is gone, it can touch me not. So this helped me to let go of symptoms when I realized I was just holding on to the past, and I don't need to do that. So sometimes we wrestle with the symptom, we work on it, and we're not letting go of the past. So if we let go of the past, if you find out what it is in the past you're hanging on to, you let go of the past, the symptom can disappear. So that helped me a lot recently when I was doing this breathing with Babaji to find out what in the past was I hanging on to. And if I stop hanging on to that, I don't need the symptom, right? So that's kind of a new way of cracking your case. You have to look at what in the past am I hanging on to, and that is sabotaging my joy. And for Norma, you realize today you were hanging on to the feeling something way back with your adopted parents you were hanging on to in your body. See? So in the future, when you get a symptom in your body, ask yourself, what part of the past am I hanging on to? And the past is over. Doesn't need to be here. I don't need to carry that thing in the past in my body, right? So anyway, that helped me a lot to realize that. I just had this realization last week, actually. Now, we would like to have a life of only joy, right? Wouldn't that be great? You know, just you're joyous all the time. And as Marcus was saying, the difference between pleasure, happiness, and joy. Pleasure has to do with sensations in the body. Happiness has to do with getting what you want, still something external. But joy is something internal. And joy is God. Joy is life. And you have to associate joy with God and joy with life. And then it starts to make sense. So wouldn't it be wonderful to have only joy? Well, how does one do that? You would have to have all your thoughts be joyful, right? So that would be a huge discipline that one could work on. How do I make my thoughts joyful? Now, most people don't think about that. They're just indulging in negative thoughts and indulging in negative thoughts. Now, it is a spiritual discipline to observe your thoughts and change them to higher frequency thoughts. That is a spiritual discipline that everyone should practice. I am going to observe all my thoughts today. And every time I see I have a negative thought or a limiting thought, I can change it right now. I can change it on the spot. And so that is a spiritual practice and a spiritual discipline that we all need to learn. Constantly observing our thoughts. And most people are not doing that. They're just running their negative thoughts, and then finally they might look at them if they get stuck. No, you just observe every thought. Oh, I could have a different thought than that thought. So that is a spiritual practice, observing your thoughts moment by moment. And how could I have a more joyful thought? A positive thought that led to joy. I recommend you start paying attention moment to moment with your thoughts. Now, if we had only joyful thoughts, how could we have any pain? We wouldn't have any pain. We wouldn't have any symptoms. We wouldn't have any disease if we had joyful thoughts. I came to this thing, joy is taking over my whole body. Joy is taking over my mind. Joy is taking over my relationships. Joy is taking over my business. And it's like saying God is taking over my mind. God is taking over my business. God is taking over my relationships. God is taking over my whole life. So you could say joy is taking over my whole life. Joy is taking over my relationships. Joy is taking over my business. It's the same thing. God and joy are the same. That's what we have to get. Or you could say Babaji. Babaji is pure joy. Babaji is taking over my life. Babaji is taking over my business. Babaji is taking over my relationships. Joy is taking over everything. And when you think of this thought of only joy, you can't have tension. When you think joy, it removes the tension. Joy, letting in joy or feeling joy removes the tension in my body, removes the symptoms in my body. Joy will remove the disease. Now, the thing is, when you have a condition in your body, you don't feel joyful because you're so worried about the condition. And then you spend all your time thinking about this condition instead of joy. But if you could let yourself have joy, the joy would push out the tension, push out the symptoms. So joy is the answer to your healing. But the problem is when you're sick or you have disease or symptoms, you don't feel joy. But if you do something that makes you feel joy, that will help you release the symptoms. So whatever it is, you need to learn what makes you joyful and do more of that in your life. Even if you have some symptoms in your body, then if you do the thing that's joyful, it will dissolve the symptoms. Joy is so powerful that it will actually dissolve the symptoms. I don't think people realize that. So one could say, well, I'm filled with joy now and I feel it. And not only do I want to have joy, I want to actually feel it in my body. And one could say, well, I'm having joy doing this, and I'm having joy doing that. So I was thinking, what things give me joy? But then I thought, well, I could actually have joy doing everything. I mean, that possibility came to my head. I could have fun doing everything. Now, that was a high thought I came to. I could have fun sitting on that couch reading. I could have fun and joy doing the dishes. I could have fun and joy walking to the grocery store. It's all a decision. Or I could walk to the grocery store and worry about something while I'm walking. But I could also decide, no, I'm going to have fun walking to the grocery store. I'm going to have joy. And I started practicing this, and then people smile at me and say hi to me, strangers, because they feel it, because I'm in joy. They feel it, and they sometimes they say hello, strangers say hello to me, or they say, oh, you look so beautiful, or they make comments, perfect strange. So I can tell when I'm feeling good because I get that kind of feedback from people. They pick up on the fun, the joy, and it's contagious. So when you're joyful, you're healing other people because joy is contagious. And we have this one friend, and she's from Atlanta, and she's a clairvoyant. She's a psychic. So she's on another dimension, okay? She came to visit us recently, and the minute she walked in, I felt better. She didn't even say anything. Just her vibration was so joyful, and I felt better, and my body felt better. And we had so much fun with her because she's always on that other dimension, okay? And I'm trying now to get closer to her because being in her frequency is like the ascension for me. I ascend when I'm in her presence. And even if she writes to me an email, it makes me ascend. Now that's how high she is. Can you imagine? And I thought, wow, I really need to develop this friendship and really appreciate her. So I'm always acknowledging her for the joy she's teaching me. And she is always laughing. Now, she is the one that told us to go to laughter yoga. I never even heard of laughter yoga until she told us about it. And so she's always laughing because she's been doing laughter yoga for I don't know how long, for maybe a whole year now. And you guys have to try it, laughter yoga. And so be sure and try it. I mean, it's like laughing for no reason. And it really changes things in your life. And, you start seeing everything differently. It's good to have friends like that who are happy, and they affect you and they help you. And you want to be like that for other people. She told me also that when she does a reading, she does psychic readings, right? She goes into an altered state and she has no judgments whatsoever. She just receives whatever she needs to receive, and she never judges anything that anybody says. And she's teaching me all these good points, and imagine if we walked around with no judgments of anybody or anything. That's how she is. She didn't judge anything. So you want to find out what makes you happy, what makes you joyful, and you do more of that, not less of that. You do more of that, whatever it is, and then you go to the next level and have fun and joy doing everything. So try to remember that I'm saying this to you. And the next time throughout the day, today and tomorrow, try to enjoy whatever you're doing. Now, you have a choice. Let's say you have to do ironing. You either do the ironing and enjoy it, or you shouldn't do it. You should get somebody else to do your ironing. Don't do things that make you feel bad. I used to enjoy ironing because I thought it was a meditation. Then I could get a steamer. So now I have a steamer, and it's so easy. I don't have to do ironing anymore. I just steam everything with this steamer, and it only costs $150 or less. So I'm having joy doing my clothes because I just steam them with my steamer, you see. And you can have fun doing any task. And if you can't have fun doing it, then hire somebody to do it or change your thoughts, right? So don't do anything you don't like to do. That's a very basic principle of having joy. You don't do stuff you don't like to do. And especially if you stand there and do it while you're resenting it or you're not liking it, it's stupid, right? Well, you want to be thankful also for anything that makes you joyful. You want to have gratitude. Now, I think gratitude makes you feel joyful. I have a beautiful gratitude book. I'm going to show it to you. This is my gratitude book. It's a pretty green leather, so it's kind of big because I like that. Okay, and you know I fill these books with all my writings, and on this side I write everything I'm grateful for today. And on the other side, I write down things I want to manifest that I haven't got yet, and I act as if I have them. I'm so happy and grateful I now have whatever it is I want to create, but I act as if I have it. This is a simple thing, and it gives me joy to do this. It's so easy, and it's fun. Now, people just don't do it, but it works. I have so many gratitude books, but this is my current one. And I try to do it. For a while, I wasn't doing it, and I didn't feel as good. So now I'm getting back to doing it almost every day. And it makes me feel good, and it gives me gratitude will heal you. Gratitude will give you joy. Yeah, I mean, the joy is always here. Now, the joy is within you. Maybe you didn't know that, but the joy is always there. But you have it covered up. The reason you don't feel the joy is you've covered it up with negativity or something. The joy is always there. And what do you cover it up with? Well, the sabotage that you mentioned and probably other things. So people think, well, no, I have to do something to get joy. No, you already have the joy. The problem is because you don't feel it is you have covered it up. You've covered it up with negative thinking. You've covered it up with fear. You've covered it up with anger. You've covered it up with guilt. And you're not going to feel the joy that's within you when you cover it up. People don't really, they think they have to do something to get the joy. The joy is out, as if the joy is out there and I have to do something to get the joy to bring it here. No, that isn't right. You don't have to do anything to get the joy. You have to remove something to get the joy. What do I have to remove to feel my own joy? God is in me. I am one with God. Therefore, joy is God. Therefore, God is in me. Therefore, joy is in me. So I want to feel the joy that is in me, and I want to stop covering it up with other crap, you see. That's the thing. And people don't give themselves credit that they have the joy. They don't get it. They think, oh, once in a while, if I'm lucky, I might feel some joy. It's always there. It's always there. And the more you ascend, and keep reading that thing that Marcus sent you, the more you ascend to a higher frequency, obviously the more joy you're going to have, right? That's why I want this training to be about ascension to Christ consciousness, because Christ consciousness is pure joy. Now, I remember once I was in Australia and I was by myself at this little beach town, and I said, okay, Babaji, I'm willing to write a book. So I'm sitting on the beach and I hear this thing in my head says pure joy, and I thought, wow, what a great book title. I was so excited. And I actually wrote this book, Pure Joy, in Australia on this beach, and it was fantastic, and I was really happy. But then, of course, my sister died. Then it took me a long time to recover from that. Then my mother died. It took me years to recover from that. And so I suppressed all the joy that I had achieved when I wrote the book, Pure Joy. You know, it wasn't that I lost it. I was covering it up with the death urge and fears and business and problems and and I did. I wrote that book, Pure Joy. Well, now we've taken that information, most of it that's in Pure Joy, and we put it in our new book, The Supermarket for a Meaningful Life, which we wrote during the pandemic. Remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, you couldn't go out. The only place we could go is the supermarket, right? And so I thought, okay, I'll write a book, The Supermarket for a Meaningful Life. And most of the things I wrote in Pure Joy have been put in that book. And a lot of people think joy is not going to last. Okay, I can have, maybe a half hour of joy of doing this, but it's not going to last. But the joy didn't go anywhere. The reason it felt like it didn't last is you covered it up. So I want you to keep getting today from me that the joy is always there, and you can have it if you remove stuff, not cover it up. The joy is always there. It doesn't run out. And so you want to give up this thought that it won't last. So again, we thought we had to do something to get joy or to keep it. But we have to remove something. So what are we doing to cover up the joy? That's the thing we need to ask. We can let go of anything that is not joy. I'm repeating myself again so you really get it. So I let perfection and joy take over my whole life. My perfection and my joy takes over my whole life. That was an affirmation I came up with during the pandemic that I really liked. My perfection and my joy is taking over my whole life. Now, for me, I had to use the word perfection because my personal lie has always been I'm not perfect, okay? So whatever your personal lie is, you should say the opposite. That is taking over your whole life. Like if your personal lie is I'm guilty, you want to say my innocence and my joy is taking over my whole life, Love is taking over my whole life. Joy is taking over my whole life. My perfection is taking over my whole life, whatever the opposite of your personal lie is. And you have to keep saying that because you're addicted to the opposite. You're addicted to your personal lie. And, addictions are not so easy. For me, I've had a lot of different addictions. And I have to pray a lot when I have an addiction. I ask the Holy Spirit to take this addiction from me, whether it's drinking or whether it's my personal life. I was addicted to patterns. That's what I found out recently. I was addicted to patterns. And I had this pattern where I didn't think I could stay home and be safe and be healthy because my father was always sick my whole life at home. So I started traveling and traveling and traveling for years and years and years, and I was always happy and feeling good and healthy. But when the pandemic hit, I had to stay home. This was very hard for me because I had staying home wired together with being sick. In my mind, I didn't even realize this until I was forced to stay home in the pandemic. So that was a pattern, and it was unconscious. A lot of patterns, I didn't know I had that pattern until I had to stay home and I was getting symptoms in my body. So then I finally figured out, wow, it's possible to stay home and be healthy. I know you guys probably don't have that pattern, but my point is you can have an addiction to a pattern. And I think Pam was saying that at the beginning when she so kindly shared her pattern. That was an addiction for her. It's very, very deep. I recommend you do prayers, also affirmations, breathing, and prayers. And what I do is I write to Babaji, or I write to Jesus, or I write to the Divine Mother, which we call the Dream Team. Babaji, Jesus, and Amaji. Babaji, Jesus, the Divine Mother, we call the Dream Team. And I write them letters, and I put my prayers in writing because I'm a writer. So you don't have to be a writer to do this. You just say, this is my addiction, this is my pattern, this is my fear, and I lay it at your feet, and you put it on your altar underneath the altar cloth. And I always tell everybody this. Well, do they do it? I don't know. Some people don't even have altars. I was writing on my Facebook recently about the importance of making everything impeccable in your living space. And when it's impeccable and beautiful, and you have altar in every room, how much better, happier, and joyous you feel. Some woman got very angry with me. She said, oh, you're making me how dare you write this? You're making me feel a lot of shame. I said, no, I'm trying to inspire you, my dear, to have more joy. She took it as a criticism that I was criticizing her. I don't even know her. She says, I don't think you should say this because it makes me have shame. No, I'm going to keep saying it because it inspires you to have more joy. So if your house is impeccable and you don't have stuff all over that's junk or boxes or it's not neat, you just feel more joy, period. It just works. And you can let go of anything that's not joyful. Now, another affirmation that's really good to feel more joy is, I am in the vibration of Jesus. I am in the vibration of Babaji. I'm in the vibration of Amaji. I'm in the frequency of Jesus. It's the same. Frequency and vibration are like the same. But I found this affirmation very helpful. I'm in the vibration of Babaji. And that makes me closer to him and closer to his energy. So try that. I'm in the frequency of Jesus. I'm in the frequency of Babaji. I'm in the vibration of Jesus. I'm in the vibration of Babaji. And I'm receiving their divine energy. I am open to receiving the divine energy of my guru. I'm open to receiving the divine energy of Jesus. I'm open to receiving the divine energy of Amaji. These kind of affirmations make you closer to them, and they are in pure joy all the time. That's how they can accomplish things. I mean, because their energy is so strong. I mean, when you think about what Amaji has accomplished, and how could anybody hug 20,000 people in one sitting? How could anyone do that? Well, she can do it because she's in pure joy and she never runs out of energy. She is like stabilized in pure joy. And that's why we recommend you have a guru. If you have a guru, which I hope you've all let Babaji into your life, because he is the father of rebirthing, after all, and Jesus is the head of the Course in Miracles, and why wouldn't you want them in your life? So why wouldn't you want to have that vibration to help you? It's hard if you don't have a guru. It's very hard. So if you say, I'm in the vibration of my guru, and my guru is helping me with this issue, and I give it up, whatever my case is, to my guru. Okay, the problem is we got so far away from joy. We forgot how it feels. We got away from it. It was always there, but we suppressed it. Like I suppressed it with my unconscious death urge, which came up when my family members died. And I spent too much time in that. I regret it now. I could have gotten over, I don't know why I spent too much time processing my unconscious death urge over and over, and I was stuck. I was really stuck. And you know what happened is, this is after my mother died, which was the hard one. Finally, Babaji helped me get out of it. Somebody drove me to the hotel in California where Amaji was giving darshan. 20 miles from the hotel. Before we even got there, I felt her aura. Now that's how big her aura is. And I said to my driver, oh my God, my depression is lifting. Then I had a hug from her and it was over, finished. Now, why didn't I get to her sooner is the point I'm making. I'm dragging out my death urge for a long time after my mother died. Why didn't I go search her out sooner? She would have helped me. But anyway, I finally got to her. She hugged me and my depression was over. So that's what the guru can do for you. And right now, of course, we don't have Amaji traveling because of the pandemic, so you could have to look at her online, and you have to tune in telepathically. Telepathically. Okay, So I am receiving God's joy. God is more joy. God is giving me joy. I am joy. Then I got to the point, well, that's the right thing to say. I am the joy of God. That was the highest thought I could come up with. I am it. Whatever you put after I am is instant manifestation. So I never occurred to me to say this until I started doing these breathings with Babaji. I would every week lie down and breathe for a couple hours and ask Babaji to come to me. And I call it, this book is called Outside the Box with Babaji. And this, what I'm sharing with you, is part of from that book. I'm breathing, and then I thought, why don't I say I am the joy of God? I thought, well, that seems obvious. Why didn't I say that? Why didn't I say that 10 years ago? See, my job now is to save you guys time. That's the purpose of a good teacher, is you save time for the students. Don't take as long as I did to get over my death urge. What gives you joy now? Do it, and that will help get you over the death urge. I didn't think about these things. I was too stuck. And then I got the thought, people like to pay people who are in joy. I like to go in stores where the clerks are in joy. Sometimes, you know, before, when we didn't have the pandemic and we were shopping, and I like to shop, I would go into a boutique and I could feel the energy of this boutique and I didn't want to be in there. Well, if the clerk was having a lot of joy and the vibration was high, I'd love to go in there and shop, you know. So people like to pay you when you're in joy. You're going to make more money when you're in joy because you like to give to the joy that's there. You feel like generous. You feel like being generous because it makes you happy. If you're in joy, you're going to make more money, is the point I'm making. So the joy of God is here now, and I am the joy of God. So the joy of God is here now. And now, the other thing is, one day I was feeling really good, and I thought, well, I don't need to breathe. I'm feeling really good. Then I thought, well, that's a stupid statement. Why do I have to rebirth myself only when I'm feeling bad? And I realized that, okay, I get rebirth whenever I feel a little down, or, you know, I have some symptoms in my body, and then I get rebirth. Well, how about breathing when I'm feeling good? And so I tried it, and guess what? I felt even better. I was feeling really good, and I thought, well, I could just rebirth myself anyway, even though I'm feeling really good. It just increased. The joy increased. The more I breathed deep, the more the joy increased. Now, obviously, that's kind of obvious. I mean, the things I'm saying are kind of obvious when you think about it, but because we're so removed from our joy because of all the traumas we've created and the dramas we've created, we forget what it could, how easy it could be. It could be easy to have joy. It could be easy, but we've gotten so far away from it. And that's why I wanted to give this talk. So I wanted to get us back to the joy that's there and available. So don't just limit your rebirthing to when you feel bad. And then I got the thought, well, I want to feel the joy going up and down my spine. So then I called up a guy and I had some cranial work. I don't know if you've had cranial work, but it's very subtle. But I like it because they work on your cranial bones and your spine. You know, ordinary massage doesn't do much for me. I mean, to me, it's very temporary, and then I might not even like the person that's doing it, or I don't like the style or whatever. Deep tissue massage produces change, and cranial work is change. Cranial work, they move your cranial bones a little bit, and your spine, they move. And actually, it opens you up for more joy if you can get that kind of body work. Whereas opposed to ordinary massage, I don't think it's a lasting effect. Another thing is sometimes people feel a few minutes of joy and they don't sit down and enjoy it. They're not enjoying the joy, you know what I mean? They feel a little bit of joy about some music, for example, and then they just forget about it. So if you're feeling joy, you should sit down and feel it and enjoy it. Enjoy the feeling of the joy.